Why is it hard for the police to follow that one? If they need more training, then they should not be out there performing their duty out in the public. I always say this, but they should have a clear knowledge of the law that they are enforcing because they are the law enforcer, no? Mabuhay, Lezami. My name is Veronica, and 2 weeks under Quebec's curfew. Of course, I have a lot of things to say. I got some rants. Before we go deeper though, this is going to be a huge disclaimer. I study the law as a paralegal, and everything I will be saying is just based on my own opinion, and it's not going to be any sort of legal advices. It'll be just me ranting and sharing and opening my criminal law notes and sharing it with you. Seeing and reading what has happened under 2 weeks of curfew, I will mostly focus and use about 3 examples, which are the lady who got pulled over during curfew on her way to work as an essential worker. There's the Gatineau police conduct during the holiday, which is actually not curfew but more of a stay-at-home order. And of course, lastly, the tragic story about Rafael Andre, who was a homeless Innu man found frozen to death inside one of the porta potty, few steps away from the shelter where he actually frequents and a regular. Of course, due to the curfew as well as pandemic, the capacity of homeless centers here in Montreal has been greatly reduced. So, upon seeing the news and reading the news, I immediately opened my criminal law notes and looked under defenses. I immediately thought of mistake of law. What is mistake of law? Basically, it means that you can use it as your defense, meaning that there is a mistake in terms of how I interpret it and how you or the prosecution interpret the law. So in this case, for example, the lady who got pulled over during the curfew, she had her papers readily available to show to the police. It was her permission slip that is stating essentially that she is an essential worker. She works in a snow removal company. She has to leave during the curfew. The Quebec government provided a template of what employers should give to their employees who are essential workers. So for me, it is safe to assume that the police officers know how the permission slip looks like and don't need to question the validity or the authenticity of the paper. Like, it was provided for you. You should be aware of it. You work for the government, no? So we go to the abuse of power. Why would the police ordered the lady to show the content of her lunchbox and invade her privacy and look over to her vehicle? The police has no grounds for that one. So abuse of power already. This leads us to question the reason why we are in curfew from 8 p.m. till 5 a.m. Coming out of the holidays, the epicenter of Canada, Montreal, Quebec, was in a about 3,000 daily infection rate for about a week. Numerous reports warned how our healthcare system is about to break if there is no circuit break. So of course, our premier did an executive decision to impose a curfew to break this dangerously alarming infection rate we're all suffering. Finally, he's following the advice of our healthcare experts. Too little too late though. So, it is safe to assume that we're all under curfew because we want to flatten the curve.
Correct?
Anyone found breaking the curfew will be fined. The penalty is you pay. Coming back to our example of the lady who got pulled over on her way to work during curfew, I would argue, me, someone who holds no weight, no legal license, just a random law student who just finished one semester, will be using defense of mistake of law in this case, because clearly under curfew does not mean that the law enforcement has grounds to search your vehicle to question the validity of your attestation. You just show it, and if you don't provide what you need to be provided, just give me the ticket. That's it. If I am caught red-handed breaking the curfew, all they can do is give me the ticket, because that's the penalty of violating this curfew. Police officers have zero right to search your vehicle without probable cause. Probable cause meaning maybe I killed someone from the bar that I've been to and I'm running away, but there's no indication whatsoever that I committed any other crime other than driving during curfew. So that is what I'm guilty of. Just give me the ticket and bye. Hey, don't go inside my car. Don't go ask me to open the hood. Don't go ask me if I'm going to eat salad or burger for my lunch.
No.
Another clear example of abuse of power by our public servant is the viral video of Gatineau police officer inside someone's house dragging a man for supposedly violating the stay-at-home order during the holidays. It was during the stay-at-home order, but I'll put a nuance of the abuse of power by our public servants. Long story short, a man went to a relative's house to celebrate the holiday together. It was not a party. There were about 6 people in the household and they're all related to one another. Same story, mistake of fact and abuse of power from the Gatineau police. If the man was in violation of the stay-at-home order, then fine him and give him the ticket. Then leave the premises. Because why would a police officer enter his house or the private property and forcefully dragging the man out of the house while an elder was trying to stop them? Also, did I mention that one of the officer who's
freshly out of the barber with his nice fade
was not wearing a mask? He should be fined for endangering the public's lives because that's what he was doing. He endangered everyone's lives. What is the point? What is the point of this police causing a ruckus and forcefully dragging a man out? Does that mean that if the man is no longer in the house, that there won't be potential COVID infection?
No.
He was already in the house. He already had an interaction with the members of those household. So just give him the ticket and leave. So this again is an example of a clear abuse of power by the police. They have no grounds to drag him out of the house. Violating the stay-at-home order means you get fined and that's it. Do you go to jail for that? No, it doesn't say anything else. Then again, you have to look at the reason why there is a stay-at-home order. The stay-at-home order is to prevent more of COVID infection rate.
That's it.
Why is it hard for the police to follow that one? If they need more training, then they should not be out there performing their duty out in the public. I always say this, but they should have a clear knowledge of the law that they are enforcing because they are the law enforcer, no? Imagine being a sales rep for Rogers and not be aware of the phone plans that your company is offering. You get remanded, no? Right? If you ended up giving someone a nice deal about a phone data and it's actually not that, then you get reprimanded and maybe you lose your job too. Police officers are public servants. They must be held in a higher standard. We pay them to treat us with respect and we are entitled to be treated as innocent until proven guilty. Lastly, I encourage you all to question the penalty of violating the curfew. If the penalty is to pay, then it's really just penalizing the poor people. That is because wealthy people can afford to pay the penalty. Just a chunk of money for them. It's no biggie. If you have watched my previous videos, those who still has to leave for work are not the rich people. They have their own fancy home office and someone who looks like me comes over and clean their house to upkeep it. It's not the white people and it's not the purulent Québécois.
The curfew is anti-poor.
This leads us to the preventable and unavoidable death of Rafael Andre. It's not as if it's the first time a homeless person died frozen due to our harsh winter. We don't have the best track record of taking care of our homeless community anyway. It doesn't sound good, it's not something to boast, but it's something to bring awareness. It shows how much we value the lives of the most vulnerable community of our society. Before we enter curfew, some journalists did ask PM about protection towards our homeless population. He said that there would be something, but offered no further explanation as to what would be his plan to protect them. He also said that he trusts the police to be more lenient towards them. But, excuse me, Premier Legault, you don't have the best record of taking care of our indigenous people anyway. Did we forget about Joyce Echaquan, who died from our hospital begging for help? Did we also forget that viral video of that SPVM threatening a homeless person to be tied to a pole in the middle of winter, minus 35 degrees? So what are the takeaways that I want you all to be aware of after watching my video? Well, first, this curfew is a recipe for abuse of power. If police can just argue that anyone can have that permission slip and threatens to fine people if they don't abide the law or they don't abide what they say, then are we in a dictatorship or what? If we don't do whatever they say, then we get fined? I mean, if I'm rich, then fuck it, fine, I could curse off the police and they just give me the ticket. But if you're a less affluent person, it will be detrimental for you. That's a huge chunk of my savings right there. I can afford to pay for it, but it's going to be hard for me. Second, who are actually affected by this curfew? I mean, at this point, you all know the answer, right? You all can say it with me. It's the less affluent one. This government has failed to lead us out of this pandemic. Legault and the boys clearly value profit over people. The same government who denied systemic racism in Quebec is the same government who encourages to buy local but don't do shit to help the local businesses. Get it? Legault is a businessman who can't even negotiate to Uber Eats and DoorDash and them to cap the delivery fees. Very good leader, right? If you made it all the way here and learned something new, you're welcome. Do not forget to subscribe, it shows how much you appreciate my work and my input, and I will see you in the next one. Fucking shit. Okay, I'll stop.